Hello and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ali Rosen, aka Ali Billings-Caisley. Today is day 118 of lockdown for me. Just a few bits. Whilst living in California, I founded Therapeutic Healing and Wellness back in 2005, and it's now morphed into THAW Sports and Remedial Therapy and Wellness in the Workplace. My business temporarily closed its doors on the 13th of March this year, and with more time on my hands, I made the decision to use my time as effectively as I could during COVID-19 lockdown. So I decided to create some showcases representing the passionate people working in the health and wellness and related industries, sharing who they are, their businesses, and how they are doing in this pandemic. And today, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Helen Davis. Helen is the creator of Blended Therapy and a presenter at last year's Wellness Retreat. How are you, Helen? Nice to see you.
I'm well, thanks, Ali. Thank you very much for having me. It's lovely to be here.
It's lovely to have you here too, and to see you and chat to you, which has become very limited during lockdown. So would you like to tell us a bit about yourself, your journey, and what led you to do what you're doing today?
Yes, of course, I'd love to. So I started my life in business 10 years ago. If you told me that I was going to be a yoga teacher and a hypnotherapist, which are the trainings that underpin what I do, I'd have laughed in your face. I had a 20-year business career under my belt. I was very successful at what I did. It wasn't my passion, I knew that, but I had no idea what my passion was. And so I just kept doing what I kept being told I was good at. And then in the spring of 2012, everything changed. I got ill.
Okay.
Yeah, I got ill. I got a virus-like thing, flu-like virus, and subsequently was diagnosed with ME, CFS, whatever we want to call it.
Gosh.
Yeah. So literally overnight, everything changed. I was actually in the build up to the biggest event of my year, a big conference that I used to help put the program together. I would be on the platform a lot of the time. All that went out the window.
What industry was that? What industry were you in before this, your career?
Sure.
Your real career.
Absolutely. I was a business analyst and I worked in the media sector.
Oh, wow.
So I was putting together data and forecasts about my specifics and a specific area in the media business. And my particular area was the home video industry. So DVD, Blu-ray, the online delivery of films. Lots of pressure, lots of client presentations, lots of traveling around the world, all that kind of stuff. And then, as I say, effectively overnight, I suddenly found myself in bed for up to 23 hours a day for a few weeks. And it took a long time to come through that.
How brave.
Well, you know, I think everybody has a life-changing situation. You know, so many of us have had them. It never feels brave to the person going through it.
No, you're right, actually.
Do what you have to do. You carry on putting one foot in front of the other, and on the days when you can't even do that, you just wait.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But what I found, I mean, it took me 5 years to build my whole life up, and I basically rebuilt my whole life from the ground up, because as I realized, first of all, I realized I wasn't going to be going back to work for a long time. And then as I did go back, I went back on a part-time basis, but that took a few years.
Were they quite compassionate about your illness? And
I have to say they were amazing. And, you know, I'm a great believer in things happening in divine timing.
Oh, yes.
A couple of years before this happened, I had been one of the small group that helped to grow a very small boutique business to an international operation. We had been bought out about a year to 2 years prior to my getting ill. Had I got ill before that, I'd have been effectively asking people, my friends running a tiny, tight business to support me. By the time I got ill, I worked for a multinational. So they were amazing. They had protocols in place. and I just slipped into that position of being somebody who was on long-term sick leave. They helped me, gave me a lot of support. But the bottom line was that I realized once I'd let go of the guilt of not being able to do my job anymore, I realized that it was the opportunity I'd always wanted and hadn't been afraid, hadn't had the courage to make for myself, to just totally change track.
It's amazing when you put stuff out there, you know, the universe is just responds, doesn't it? It's extraordinary.
Yeah. And amazing. I know, I can look back now, I needed something that extreme. I needed to have the rug pulled out totally from under my feet, because otherwise I wouldn't have listened. I'd have just...
No.
And it happened. I mean, for the previous few years, I kept getting ill every winter. I'd get a throat infection that needed antibiotics. I hate taking antibiotics, but if I didn't, I'd get really ill. But none of these things got through. It was only when everything ground to a halt that I was able to step back and start again.
Wow, amazing.
And over that 5 years, I mean, everything changed. My marriage also didn't come out the other side of this. And again, it was the way it was.
It's part of your journey.
It was, and it was the right thing for both of us. We don't have children, so that made it much easier to realize that the time had come for the parting of the ways. But that obviously meant that my home disappeared. So I ended up, over that 5-year period, I lost my career, my marriage came to an end, I ended up moving towns, everything. I always joke that the only thing that stayed stable, apart from my upper family, as it were, you know, my own family, as it were, was my dog, and she's still with me today. But it was an incredible experience. And all through that time, anytime anyone ever said to me, oh, you're almost back to how you used to be, or you're getting back to normal, I would stop them and say, I don't go back. I'm not going back. I'm going forward.
Good. Yes.
And that's actually something that's come back recently, because I think that's a big part of this whole process of coming out of lockdown.
Yes.
We don't want to go back to normal. We want to go forward to the new normal.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. I think it's been a time for many of us everywhere for reflection and really, really looking at what's important and realizing that this is kind of, you know, really an opportunity for us to reframe ourselves going forward and in a much more positive way, and not take so many things for granted. I mean, you know, nature is showing us the beauty of when there are less people around, and it's extraordinary.
Yeah, it really is.
So what can people expect from working with you? What kind of work?
Yeah, well, so during this period when I was recovering, two of the things that really helped me to work out who I was, because the bottom line was I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. I didn't know who I was. And so that's where I had to start. And the two things that most helped me to find my way forward were yoga and hypnotherapy. And so during this period when I was recovering and working very part-time, I was able to retrain in both of those disciplines.
Well done.
And that was amazing, because the moment I started doing that, I found I had the energy to do these things in a way I didn't have the energy to go back and do bits of my old job.
Right.
And so by the early 2017, I finally was in a position, I finally was able to, again, the universe delivered. I got redundancy from my old job.
Wow.
I launched blended therapy. And I started out, and it was like, I do yoga, I do hypnotherapy, but I always knew the name came because I knew that I was going to blend the two together. I just didn't know how.
Yeah, they are kind of part of that beautiful toolbox of therapies, you know, holistic therapies and healing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the way that, I mean, as you know, the way that I practice and teach yoga is, it's the wholeness of yoga. It's about yoga, it's about meditation. It's not about twisting your body into pretzel shapes and sticking it on Instagram. It's about what it does for you in your heart.
Yeah. And I think with your energy and your strong undercurrent and your passion, you almost, you deliver really personal programs, don't you? Because you can pick up the energy of the people that you're teaching, who are in your group, and I guess adjust it wholeheartedly around them, can't you? Yeah.
So one of the key things that really inspired me years ago, the teacher I trained with, I remember her saying to me, where there's space, there's healing. She was talking about making space in the body. And that phrase just went straight into my heart, and it underpins everything I do. And so whether people come to one of my yoga classes or workshops, whether they're looking for specific help in an area to, you know, to let go of a phobia, the more traditional sort of hypnotherapy stuff, or whether they're whether they're looking to do what I did and rediscover their purpose, work out who they are, what they want in life.
Yeah.
All of it starts with making space, because we all spend so much of our time in our heads. We're busy, busy, busy.
That's right.
And when we don't make space, there's no room for there to be any change.
Absolutely. Yes, of course. Yeah.
So it's about making space in the body, mentally, emotionally. And in order to do that, of course, you need to be prepared to make space in your life to make the time to do the work.
Yeah.
And if that starts with being, or maybe stays for some people with just being one yoga class a week, that's fine.
Yeah.
But for someone else, that will look like regular one-to-one work. And in that situation, we will work together. Sometimes we might do yoga. Sometimes we might do something that looks a little bit more like traditional hypnotherapy. In due course, when we can do this in person, sometimes we might go out for a walk in nature. All of these
things, amazing, because you've got and you've got this lovely storyboard, and so you working with your clients, you can get a really good idea and energy of what they need and just adjust it accordingly. And if you didn't have one of those tools in your toolbox, then it would limit you, wouldn't it? So it's fantastic the way you've associated the two, and they've worked together, and you've created this lovely name, blended therapy. That's lovely. So how do you make people make space? Or how do you help people
make space? Yeah. So, as I say, it's all about relearning how to be fully present. I mean, you know this, you know, with all your meditation teaching.
Yeah.
Giving people the time and the space to stop. So one of the things I did during the main part of lockdown here in the UK was that I was doing daily meditations that people could tune into, just 15 minutes, first thing in the morning.
They were good.
Thank you. I also have, there's a whole range of different practices and different things that we can do. But really, the first thing is just giving people the space. So, for example, yoga classes, I mean, I kept my yoga classes going all the way through. I decided not to go out and start looking for lots and lots of people. I started with a core group.
Exactly.
So the space that those people were already used to having every week to come together and connect, we still had.
Yes.
So they continued to see each other on Zoom at the beginning of the class. It was the same time. It was the same amount of time. And just creating that space.
Yes. And it's important to maintain that, isn't it, with the client? Because I've been doing that with my private meditation group as well. Because it's almost like as you say, they create the space. It's a routine. It's something to look forward to. And a lot of people really in lockdown, I mean, it has affected them in so many different ways. A lot of people are completely cut off from, the outside world. So it gives them an opportunity, doesn't it, to interact and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
And make it naturally so.
Yeah. And one of the things I started doing last summer, which obviously has been curtailed by the current situation, is I started doing half-day workshops. So bringing people in to do half a day, some gentle yoga postures, some meditation, one of the things that's very important in my own practice is chanting. And I know that's something that some people get a bit freaked out by. But
yes, it's a very
chance to experience it.
Yeah.
It can be beautiful.
Yeah, I've done. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so I've brought all of these together into a workshop, and so far I haven't yet done that online, but I'm just starting to play with the idea of maybe doing an online version. So that's kind of in the
mix
possibilities at the moment.
That's exciting. I've only ever done one chanting yoga class, and it was an interesting experience. But it was interesting, and it did help me relax. Yeah, and it's something to really think about and explore even more, I think. That's great. You've got a lot of things bubbling up in the pipeline. It's so exciting.
And what I've really found is basically everything that helps me is what I
Yes,
then share. So the
yes.
chanting, I mean, I didn't intend to start sharing chanting with other people. I'm not trained to teach chanting, and I'm not doing that. But to have a group sitting together, just sounding Om together,
It's powerful.
it's really powerful. And
Yes.
people who had no intent, no mental interest in learning chanting will come away and go, that was incredible.
Yeah.
I really felt it. And so I'm just, I just go with what I'm guided to do each time and see what works and what people
Yeah.
find helpful.
That's extraordinary. So coming back to lockdown, how has COVID-19 actually affected you personally and your business and,
Sure.
the way you do things and what you think you're going to change in the future as a result?
It's been a really interesting time. I mean, I went into lockdown, as I know you did, earlier than
Yes.
the official guidelines.
Yes.
I teach quite a lot of people who fall into the vulnerable category, and I had this gut feeling a week before the official announcement that it was getting risky to meet people. And so a week before, I took all my yoga classes onto Zoom. I took my one-to-one clients onto Zoom, and haven't looked back from that. So that's been great.
Good.
I also made the decision not to then try and build up a lot of other new work. So I've also had a lot of space for myself. And so on a personal level, I have also made space and time for myself, and I have done a lot more work on myself. I've unpeeled more layers of the onion in my own life, which then obviously allows me to help more with other people. And I think this is something that we have to come to terms with. We go through this stuff over and over again, and you think, right, I've dealt with that, and then something happens and it's back again. But it's not. It's come in a different way, and there's a different layer to unpeel.
It's almost like a little thing, just a tiny little thing that just might pop up.
Absolutely.
But I think I also find, like you, that I have had some time to reflect, and unwind, because when my doors were open, before I had to close them, I was seeing patients back to back to back to back to back every day. And you get into that whole thing. And so now it's amazing what you uncover, and amazing what you which you've been saying, because you become a lot more creative with your thought process, because your mind is so much clearer, and you've given yourself time to reflect and relax more, isn't it? So it's kind of a really good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, I absolutely agree. And I think the other really big thing that's come out, that I've seen coming out of lockdown for myself, but also for a lot of other people, is people are becoming, so people who hadn't been used to connecting like this remotely, becoming aware that the energetic connection between two people or a group of people is not dependent on physical proximity.
True words. True words.
Literally, from the first classes I taught, when I got the same people on Zoom who had been in the room a week before, almost without exception, they all said at the end, I can't believe how much I felt the energy was the same as when we were in the room.
It's extraordinary. It's amazing.
And I think a lot of people who didn't really get the concept of energy, whether that's energy healing or energetic connection, have opened up to the fact that that is absolutely possible.
Yes.
There are ways, you can work. If you find someone that you connect with, you can work online with them.
Yes, definitely.
Once we're back and we are all working in person again. I mean, I have a couple of clients at the moment in the States. So whatever happens, we're not going to start working in the same room.
No.
But they get, if they put the work in, they get just the same level of results as the people that I.
It's extraordinary, because it's electronic, and it's still kind of going through a funnel, and the energy is still transferable, and you can. It's amazing.
I mean, the energy, the energetic connection between us, whether that's you and me now, or me and one of my clients in the States, or whatever, it's nothing to do with the technology, is it? It is just this connection. And the technology is just letting our heads catch up with what's going on
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I've never said it like that before, but that just suddenly came.
Came out. That's great. That's an excellent way to describe it. So I did want to ask you, I know that you don't right now, but is it your plan to operate out of different locations in the future, or what are your thoughts on that?
The thing I'm really looking forward to is getting back to being able to do workshops. I mean, obviously, I want to do my classes again. My classes are a small part of my business.
Right.
The workshops, I was just about to expand. I had just started talking to somebody about doing a full retreat at some point, ideally a week somewhere.
Yeah.
All of these things were bubbling up literally in February, March of this year, and then they all got shut down. The workshops, I love having 3 hours and in time full days to work with people and really get them into that space and give them the opportunity to make that much space.
Yeah.
That really is something I love to do. So I want to do more of that. But I will do more online as well, because I'm also, like so many of us, it's also put me into the position of thinking, okay, so how can I build on this? Because there are people who are coming to listening to me, talking to me, who will never be able to come to my regular local events because they're not local.
Right.
So I'm also exploring ways of looking into online courses or online work that will help I can take out to people further afield as well.
That's extraordinary. So, I mean, sometimes I guess the universe, I feel quite honestly that the universe or nature and the universe have kind of given us a real kick up our butts, excuse the terminology, and saying, for heaven's sake, move, do something, think outside the box. And it's almost a gift we've been given, to be fair.
I'm very mindful that I had an incredibly easy lockdown. I was on my own with my dog.
Are you still in lockdown? You are still in lockdown.
No, I'm easing my way out now, and actually I'm probably going to go on a yoga retreat at the end of next month as well. So well,
that's a long way away. So
but I'm finding my way out. But I'm still not working. I'm still doing my classes online and so on. So I'm just taking it step by step. But I wasn't. I live in the country. I could walk. My daily walks took me out into the open country every day. I have a little tiny garden, and I'm not locked down with anybody that is either worrying me or even worse, a danger to me. I'm incredibly, I'm very privileged.
Yeah.
And I'm very mindful that for a lot of people, lockdown has not been a pleasant experience, and in some cases, much, much worse than that.
Yeah.
But for those of us who have had those privileges, I think a lot of people have found it incredibly beneficial to realize that it is possible to stop.
Oh, yes. And very rewarding to stop as well. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. And so what is the best way that anyone listening right now who didn't know you before this broadcast, what is the best way they could get in touch with you?
Well, obviously, I'm always happy to get emails and calls from people who want to talk to me about working with me. That goes without saying. And my Facebook page and website, which I know you've got the details for, are a great way to find me. But if someone wants to find out a bit more about, what I actually do, the best thing at the moment is to join my Facebook group, because I started a new Facebook group just a few weeks ago.
That's right.
Not surprisingly, it's called Making Space.
That's such an amazing name.
And it's all about helping people keep accountable, keep making that space. So some people, as we were just saying, have found that lockdown has given them space that they didn't have before, and they don't want to lose that. Other people have found that, they've been maybe working full time, running a home, being a teacher all of a sudden. They've had no space. And they've realized that they need to create space. So wherever people fall on that spectrum, the group is there to help them, give them a central point. We're creating a community of like-minded people. And each week I do a Monday morning meditation, and I share in the week a space-making practice. It may come from yoga, it may be self-hypnosis, it may be a breathing or even in time a chanting practice. And then all of these are being stored to create a library of practices that people can come in and use and connect
just whenever they want to. That's
whenever
such
they
a
want
good
to.
idea. I wish you the very best of luck with that, and I hope it grows exponentially and
Thank you, Ali.
organically. You're very welcome. Is there any wisdom that you would like to share with the audience today?
I think coming back to this idea of moving forward rather than moving back to normal, one thing that I am hearing from a lot of people is that they are starting to feel a bit stressed or worried because they're not seeing the change that they hoped or expected they would see in other people, perhaps.
Yeah.
Whether it's people they know or the wider world. And it's really easy to slip into fear about what the future holds.
Yes. I think there's a lot of people doing that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the thing I would share is, you can't change anyone else. You can only change yourself. So ultimately, all that any of us can do is to make sure that each day we do whatever we can, even if it's the tiniest of baby steps, to make our little corner of the world a better place. Because you never know what ripples that will create out beyond. And if you can every day just think, well, I did one thing a little bit differently than I might have done before, then you're going in the right direction, and hang on to what you're doing and not worry about what everyone else is.
That is beautiful wisdom. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's a lovely very, very lovely statement. Well, our time is just about up now. So thank you so much, Helen, for taking your time out today to spend with us and chat.
Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. It's been
you're very, very welcome. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and very enlightening. Just for everyone watching, you can find Helen on Facebook at Blended Therapy. Her website is www.blendedtherapy.co.uk, and her email address is helen@blendedtherapy.co.uk. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for watching and listening, and we'll be back next Thursday at 3 o'clock. Thanks so much, Helen. Take care and hope to speak soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.